So running is a great activity. I'm really excited to help you get started. Welcome to The Ageless Runner. I'm Ralph. Hey, if you enjoy running and learning about running like I do, please subscribe to my channel by clicking that subscribe icon down in the corner of this video. Thank you so much. So congratulations on choosing running and being active in running, giving that a try. I think it's a wonderful hobby, wonderful sport, and I wish you a lot of success. And to help with that success, I thought I would share a few tips with you that I've learned over the years. I think one of the key things to consider up front in order to be successful with running is how you're going to define your goals, how you're going to measure yourself. So there's two ways you can define a run. One is by distance, how far you run. And the other one is by time, how long you run. And the relationship between those two is called pace. In other words, time of run divided by distance of run is pace. So if you run a 10-minute per mile pace, that means you could run 3 miles in roughly 30 minutes. My first recommendation is put aside pace. Don't even think about it. I've been running for 4 years. I give very little consideration to pace. I look at it. It's kind of a measure of how I'm doing, maybe how I'm feeling that day. But pace is not a measurement for me when I run. So to be successful in running, I think you need to pick one or the other. Pick distance or time. If you're training for a race, perhaps that's your goal. You want to run a half marathon, then make distance or miles your primary measure of how you're doing. If on the other hand, you're out running for cardiovascular health, for fitness, maybe for recreation, make that time. Make it how long you run. Maybe you want to make sure you run at least 30 minutes. Make that your target and your goal. Do not focus on both time of run and length of run. You're just going to set yourself up for disappointment. You don't want to have two goals, two metrics. Pick one or the other, and that'll help you be a lot more successful and you have a lot more enjoyable running experience. So once you decide how to maybe track or measure your runs, whether it's distance or length of time of run, kind of set a target out there. Maybe you'd like to run 5 miles. Maybe you'd like to run 45 minutes. Kind of set a target out there, something you can work for that gives you a sense of satisfaction. But keep in mind, any improvement, any end result you're trying to achieve is usually an incremental process. It takes little bits of improvement at a time. So don't be too hard on yourself on how long it takes to get there. If it takes a month or 6 months, doesn't really matter. What's important is you're out there doing it and you're working at it. So before we hit the trail, I'd like to give you one last recommendation, that is on equipment. Obviously, you don't need a lot. You need a running shirt, and some shorts or sweats or something like that. But the key thing is running shoes, and you don't need to do it on the first day. Before you get too far into your running journey, go to an athletic store or a running store and get fitted for a proper pair of running shoes. That'll be really helpful as far as injury prevention, ease of running, and just accomplishing your goal. So go to a running store, an athletic store, and get the proper shoes. So now let's head out on the trail and talk about some other tips that you might use as you start your running adventure. So my next tip might be the most important one, and that's use the Jeff Galloway run, walk, run method. If you're not familiar with this, Jeff is a former Olympian. He's like 70 years old now, developed this run, walk, run method maybe 25 years ago. It's exactly how it sounds. You run a little bit and you walk a little bit. For example, you might run 15 seconds and walk 10. You might run 40 seconds and walk 20. But I'm not going to get into the details of that in this video. I suggest you do two things. One is go to jeffgalloway.com, read up all about it. I'll show you a link down below. And then come back here and watch two videos on my site, and that is the quick start method. That'll help get you going pretty quickly with not a lot of difficulty. Then also watch my ratio tips video. That's more important maybe after you've been doing run, walk, run for a while. That'll give you some hints on maybe adjusting your run time and your walk time. Now the most important thing though is not your run time and walk time though, it's making your bogey, whatever your goal is. If you're running for a distance, you want to set your run times and walk times so you can make that distance. Same thing if you're running for a time. If you're going to go out and run 45 minutes, you need to set your run time and your walk time so you can go 45 minutes. I don't care if you run 15 seconds or you run a minute and 15 seconds. You need to set those run and walk times so you can make your goal. That's the most important thing. And again, watch those two videos. You may find those helpful. So the next tip is to prepare for the run at least 30 minutes ahead of time. And you want to do two things. You want to drink some water, maybe 12 ounces of water, a half hour before you run. Now, if it's going to be a hot day and it's maybe a longer run, you might want to add some electrolytes to that. I use Noon tablets, I use Light Balance, I'll link to those down below. But only if you think it's going to be hot and you're going to sweat a lot, add some electrolytes. Second thing you want to do is have something to eat, but it needs to be carbohydrate focused. I typically have a piece of toast with some peanut butter. You don't want to eat a lot of fats and proteins because your body takes more energy to digest fats and proteins than carbohydrates. And you don't want your body working on digestion, you want it to work on running. So try and prepare at least 30 minutes ahead of time. Now, one related tip is if your run is going to be maybe a little longer than what you normally do, is take an energy gel. I use Science and Sports isotonic gels. Take an energy gel and consume that right before you leave. That'll give you a little energy boost right before you head out the door. So at least drink water and eat some light carbohydrate meal about a half an hour before you run. Now my next tip is to be prepared during the run. And by that I mean you may want to bring food and water. If you're going to run more than 30 minutes, especially on a summer day like today, you should bring water. Getting dehydrated will stop your run just quicker than anything else. There are lots of options. I have a running vest, you can have running backpacks. There are handheld water bottles you can bring, but bring some water if you're going to be out there more than 30 minutes. The old rule of thumb was take a drink every 20 minutes. There's been some research to suggest just drink when you're thirsty. The problem with that is as we get older, like a guy my age, our sense of thirst diminishes. So I try to drink every 20 minutes. And if you're going to be running more than 45 minutes, bring some type of energy. I bring gels. The body will run initially on its glycogen stores, but that'll disappear after about 75 minutes of running. I usually start taking gels at about the 40 to 45 minute mark, and then take something about every 20 minutes after that. So bring water, bring energy gels or food stores, depending on how long you're going to run and the weather conditions. So my last tip is on post-run nutrition, and that is eat a protein and a carbohydrate. You know, when you exercise, you kind of get these little micro tears in your muscle. You need to rebuild those. That's what increases muscle mass and strength, and you need protein to do that, so consume a protein. But also, you've just gotten done running, your glycogen stores could be very low, if not depleted. Consume a carbohydrate, help get your energy back. Typically what I do is have some protein drink. Depending on what I have in the house, I might have a half a bagel, a piece of toast, or even some crackers. So be sure to consume protein and carbohydrate within an hour of completing your run. Hey, thanks again for watching my video. I hope you enjoy running. I hope these tips help you get started. Keep it up. Kudos to you for even doing it. Most people can't do what you're wanting to try and do, or maybe already doing. So thanks again, and if you don't mind, please subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe icon. Thank you so much.